I'm Latha. I'm a mother of 2 kids, and my husband is a filmmaker and a storyteller. And this is about storytelling. I don't know why I'm just strangely nervous. I'm actually a teacher, and I'm so cool in the company of kids, but none of you are my students. I don't see any students here, so I'm a little nervous. So this is about storytelling and how my children grew up listening to all the nonsense stories that I made up. And it was fun because they hated reading. Okay, they did not like to read. So I could just tell them anything because they wanted to hear a story. And so at home, we had a couple of random things around the house. We had this coconut monkey. Have you seen this monkey made out of coconut? Yeah? And I like doing little creative things. So I made that into a little table lamp. So we had this in the bedroom. And this became one of the characters in my story. He was called the light monkey. Sometime when we have time, I can tell you the light monkey story. And I will tell you this in 100 different versions, depending on how I feel that day. But the story will begin the way it begins and end. But whatever happens in between is 100 different stories. The same thing, we had this, have you seen this wooden seagull? Which you can, tie up and it just sort of, you pull it and then it flies. So that's Jonathan Livingston's seagull. Everybody knows about Jonathan Livingston. And so that's a seagull story. So like that, I had umpteen characters, little things in my house. If you come to my house, you'll see a lot of things in my house. So they all became characters in my story. But I'm not going to talk about the characters in my story. I'm going to talk about one character in my husband's story. See, he's a storyteller, he makes films, and he's always telling stories. And I've called him my Shehrazade because the thing is that he has told me, before we got married, and how we ended up dating was, Rajeev would tell me story after story after story. We would go for these long drives. I'm talking about back in the mid-90s. We didn't have places like Cinnamon Root or any of those places where we could cozy up to each other. And since we were both, in our 30s, it was easy for us to go around town. So he would tell me one story after another, stories that never became films. Some of them became films, but there were endless stories that he would tell me. And so I think that's also one of the things, that made me love him the way I do. So the thing about it is, to our kids, he had only one story. Can you believe it? My son is 19 and my daughter is 16. And every time Rajeev had a story to say, he only had one story. And that was about Kutti. And I don't know if you know about Kutti, the little elephant who goes to, his Anna Papa and takes him down to the river to bathe. And he doesn't go every day to bathe, but once in a while he goes to bathe. And then there's this tailor. And when he comes back from bathing, the tailor gives him a banana, a whole bunch of bananas. But Kutti Shankran's always waiting to have his banana. He's so excited. So he goes to bathe. He comes back with the banana, to get the bananas. One day, the tailor's in a really foul mood. I think he messed up a couple of ladies' blouses. And got hell. I think all the ladies know, right? Got hell to pay from them, okay? And so when Kutti Shankran came back, he wasn't in a good mood. So Kutti Shankran was like, but no. He wasn't really happy with Kutti Shankran. He wasn't happy with anything. It was not Kutti Shankran really. But poor thing, he didn't know. So what he did was, Kutti Shankran, reached out his trunk to take his, rich bananas. He got a prick in his nose. And you know how sensitive the trunk is. Kutti just didn't know what happened. He just, the story and everything. He went back another day to bathe. And he came back, he remembered it. All of us know that we say, oh, aaneda good memory ondangi. Okay, so little fellow, he bathed, came back with all that water in his trunk. And there was this grouchy guy sitting there, and he just squirted him with all that water. So we know that story, right? So this is the story that Rajeev would tell the kids every time he told them a story. And you won't believe the excitement. And I think to myself, dang, I'm telling them stories about all these characters, and every day it's different depending on how good or bad they were. And they're so exciting when their dad says the same old story over and over and over again. And anytime somebody says Kutti, and I mean, he's become like, you know, like you were talking about Lexi, the same way. Kutti is like, you know, he's not an imaginary character. He is a character. And what I want to share with you was 3 weeks ago, we found Kutti. It is incredible. We found Kutti. Actually, Rajeev and I went shopping to pick up some small thing from Sarva. And as I stepped into Sarva, have you been to Sarva? And they have a little veranda and a little porch-like thing where they have all these, knickknacks and these little carvings and things like that. So as I walked in, there were so many little elephants packed up there. In between that, I saw a little fellow almost winking at me. Would you believe it? He was winking at me. I walked in, then we took our time picking up things and all that. And on the way out, I said, Rajeev, Kutti. He's like, huh? I said, Rajeev, Kutti, do you know Kutti is there? And so he took a look at him and said, oh, Kutti Shankarana. I said, yeah, look at him. And he said, oh, it's so expensive. Do you want to buy it? I said, yeah, please, please, please. He said, okay, let's do it. So I picked up Kutti. Kutti. Have you ever seen such a cute elephant in your life? Tell me. And can you just tell me, this is what I asked the kids and I asked Rajeev, do you know at what exact moment the cow got him? Can anybody tell me at what exact moment in the story the cow got him? Can you see his face?
Asking for the banana?
Yeah, that's one. That's exactly what everybody said to me. But you know what I see? The mischief in his eye. This is when he's got all that water in his trunk. And he's like, I'm going to give you one wash down. So this is Kutti. Guys, say hi to Kutti. And I can't tell you. This is an inanimate thing. This has virtually no life. I mean, I could do anything I want with it. Has no life. But this is so much of stories in him. And he means so much to us. And I know that in future, the children will have the same story to tell their children. And Kutti will always be a part of, the tradition of our family. So I think that any of you who have stories to share with your children or your friends, with anybody, stories really are a tradition. And it's a tradition for every one of us. So all the lovely stories you have to say, please continue. I had tears in my eyes because I love dolphins. I love animals. And you too. All these stories, I think you should continue telling these stories, whatever it is, and share them with people and share it with love, share it with passion, And I think you can change the world with the way you think. Because someday you'll find, Lexi, you would be surprised somewhere like this. Yeah, you will. Okay. I can understand. I have a dog 2 years ago, and her name was Jamie. So when you told us the story, I knew what it felt like. We don't have any dogs now. But she wasn't a dog, she was part of our family. So like Kutti is now part of our family, and you guys know. So you know the story, so continue telling the story. Make Kutti also part of your story. Now you all have Kutti in your mind. So thanks a lot for listening to me, and thank you for inviting us here. Thank you.